Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into something that honestly might seem like just a concert review on the surface, but we think there's, well, a lot more going on here. We're looking at how attending Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour turned into this really profound experience for one writer.
Yeah, deeply personal, communal, even spiritual. She actually talks about it as a rebirth, finding this ebullient joy again.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack how that happens. How does a concert do that?
And our main source for this is an essay from CNN, came out June 27th, 2025. It's called Why You Should Get Your Boots to Beyonce's Cowboy Carter Tour, a sermon for the weary while you can. The writer is Megan Thomas.
Great title.
It really is. And it's her firsthand account, very intimate, of just how transformative the whole thing was for her.
Okay, so we'll be exploring how, a 3-hour performance can tackle something as big as personal burnout. How it can be, like she says, a sermon for the weary. And maybe most importantly, how it acts as this reminder of human connection, especially now when things feel so, well, divided.
Definitely. We'll pull out the specifics from her essay, looking at the personal impact, but also sort of the wider resonance.
All right, so where does she start? What was her headspace before the concert?
Well, she's really quite candid about it.
Yeah.
She describes her joy as being long misplaced.
Wow.
Yeah, like buried under just the weight of everything. Burnout, parenting, getting older, worry. She mentions specifics too.
Like what?
Like being crowded in a small space during the peak of COVID, caring for a neurodivergent child, which is intense.
Sure.
Also, trying to hang on to her career in what she calls a disrupted industry, and this feeling that she made herself smaller over the years.
Yeah, it really paints a picture, feeling limited rather than focused on dreams.
Exactly. It's a very, I think, relatable feeling of just being completely worn down.
And it sounds like she knew she needed something major, not just a distraction, but a real shift.
Oh, absolutely. She explicitly says she needed a rebirth. That's a strong word.
It really is. And she calls the LA show her baitism.
Right. Which directly connects to how people talked about the Renaissance tour, remember? Like a post-pandemic spiritual revival.
Yeah, I do remember that comparison. So she's framing this concert as something almost, well, sacred in a way, a turning point she desperately needed.
Precisely. And look, it wasn't just a spontaneous thing either. There was a practical decision here.
How so?
She mentions her Ticketmaster savvy younger colleagues invited her, and the ticket was $250.
Okay.
Which, she says, seemed like a small price to pay to fulfill one dream. So she saw it as a real investment in herself, in getting that feeling back.
That makes sense. It wasn't just buying a ticket, it was buying hope, maybe.
I think that's a good way to put it. And that leads nicely into the whole communal aspect, which is huge in the essay.
Right, because she contrasts it with, singing alone in her car or dancing at home. She calls those her cringe solo moments, apparently borrowing her kid's word.
Yeah. But she makes this really important distinction. Concerts are different. They are communal by design.
Permission to let go.
Exactly. Permission to let go among unjudgmental company. That shared experience is key. You're not alone in it.
It really speaks to the power of public gatherings, doesn't it? That collective energy.
Totally. And she describes the scene vividly. A whole stadium full of strangers, but they're all sort of unified.
How so?
Well, everyone's dressed up in the fabulous fringe, denim, boots, cowboy hats, the whole Cowboy Carter aesthetic. It creates this immediate sense of shared space, shared purpose almost.
Like a temporary tribe.
Yeah, exactly like that. And this ties into her point about what art is for.
Okay, what does she say about that?
She says, art at its best evokes emotion, challenges us, or offers an escape.
Right.
And her argument is that Cowboy Carter, the show, actually manages to do all three of those things at once.
That's quite a claim. Evoking emotion, challenging, and offering escape. How does she back that up?
She talks about the crowd itself, describing it as warm, really diverse, spanning generations and demographics.
So a real mix of people.
A real mix, yeah. And she felt unburdened there, surrounded by others who also seemed to be, like, shining. She uses that word, shining.
In that space that Beyonce created.
In that empowering and wide open space created by Queen Bee, yes. And she gives examples of herself getting lost in it.
Like what?
Like shouting the lyrics to freedom, crying during alligator tears, dancing completely uninhibitedly, diva, all without self-consciousness.
That really illustrates that sense of liberation you can find in a crowd when the conditions are right.
Absolutely. It's that communal permission slip again.
And this freedom, this liberation, it seems tied directly to the message Beyonce is putting forward with this whole project, right?
Very much so. The essay points out that the album in the tour, the Rodeo Chitlin Circuit Tour, are framed as this requiem.
Or requiem.
Yeah, a requiem to Black artists who have helped shape country music. And alongside that, a reclamation of Americana for those who've been shut out. It's steeped in history and meaning.
So it's reclaiming a narrative through music.
Precisely. And the show itself visually reinforces this. It's brilliantly wrapped in red, white, blue, and a whole lot of symbolism.
Okay.
But what's also interesting is how the essay portrays Beyonce herself. Yes, she seems supernatural on stage, but the show also highlights her humanity. It shows her life, like everyone's, has been shaped by love, loss, effort, and struggle.
How does it show that?
Through things like montages of her ancestors, influences, and personal moments, it grounds the spectacle. Her confidence isn't presented as just, effortless performance. It's her hard-won evolution.
That duality is powerful. The almost divine figure. He's also deeply human, showing her journey.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it seems to build towards this moment of the song, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah.
What happens there?
Yonce asks the crowd, "You looking for a new America?" And then she answers, "We got to keep the faith." The essay interprets this as a tribute, both to her own family's history in America, a country still working towards its ideals, and also to the American spirit of optimism.
So it's hopeful but realistic.
Yeah, exactly. It inspires hope, but with this unapologetic honesty about its challenges. It's not glossing over the difficulties. It's a really nuanced message inside this, huge joyful performance.
So after all this, Cave, the personal need, the communal experience, the powerful message, what was the lasting effect on the writer?
Profound, it seems. She puts it really beautifully. She says, "I don't know exactly when in this decade my spirit started to dim, but I can say for certain the 8 acts of the concert each turned a light back on within me."
Each act turning a light back on. That's an incredible image, like a gradual reawakening.
It really is a sense of deep renewal. And the essay pulls this personal experience out into a broader commentary.
How so?
With this killer closing line, basically. It says, "In an era of division, tariff wars, ICE raids, heat waves, protests, and America first, Beyonce is the ultimate reminder that our only real currency is our connection."
Wow, that hits hard. Our only real currency is connection. To frame a concert review with that kind of insight.
It elevates the whole thing, doesn't it? It says this isn't just entertainment. In these times, this feeling of connection is maybe the most valuable thing we have.
Absolutely. And does she suggest this feeling lasts beyond the concert itself?
She does. She talks about seeing this ongoing Beyhive high on social media afterwards.
Okay.
Streams of posts from people who went to the show, sharing videos, wearing personalized sashes, just buzzing.
Still riding that wave of energy.
Yeah, overcome by the sight of Beyonce on stage.
Yeah.
And the author says she sees people energized by her excellence, holding on to homemade pieces of what's possible.
Holding on to pieces of what's possible. I like that. It's not just a memory, it's fuel.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect. The energy doesn't just dissipate when the show ends.
So it makes total sense then that the essay strongly encourages people to go if they can.
Oh, completely. It explicitly says, buy the ticket, take the trip, have the experience, like those memes, but applied very seriously here.
An investment in joy, basically.
An investment in joy and connection, yeah. And the author is clear why you should go. It's not just the spectacle.
Right, not just the amazing costumes and choreography, which she says are as vivid as Beyonce is blonde.
Or just because the show is this blend of influences, equal parts Dolly and Elvis, as soulful as Louisiana, as big and bold as her home state of Texas.
So that sounds pretty great, too.
It does. But the core reason, according to the essay, is that unique, singularly Beyonce experience. That feeling of connection, of empowerment. It's something else.
A specific kind of magic, maybe?
Something like that. And just practically, the essay notes the remaining U.S. tour dates are Houston, Washington, Atlanta, and Las Vegas, for anyone wondering.
Good to know. So wrapping this deep dive up, it really seems the core takeaway is how art, specifically this performance, can do so much more than entertain.
Absolutely. It can offer genuine personal renewal, create this vital communal space for letting go, and deliver a really potent message about connection and hope, even when times are tough.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If a concert like Beyonce's can be this rebirth, this sermon for the weary, all through shared experience and art, what else out there? What other things that maybe seem like everyday activities or just, public gatherings we go to could they secretly hold that kind of potential?
That potential for like deep emotional healing or unexpected insights.
Yeah, or just finding that renewed sense of connection we all seem to need. Are there other moments we're maybe underestimating? Other places we could find our own ebullient joy?
That's a fantastic question to leave people with. Something to definitely mull over.
Indeed.